HarperCollins presents Deepwater King, Book 2 of the Deepwater Trilogy by Mckenna, read by Elaine Claxton. For Paul H. The Saint of the Islands. The history goes like this. 2 centuries ago, a child came into the world with a vast and terrible ability. At the moment of her birth, the delivery forceps at her crown recoiled into a tight rose of metal and crushed the unwashed fingers of a drunken surgeon just returned from the dissection of a cadaver. At her cry, the lenses in the midwife's spectacles cracked in their frames. In her 5th summer, she touched a spoon with a licked finger, and it stood up on its end, danced a jig before knotting into a silver ball. That day, she destroyed most of the cutlery before her servant girl mother found her on the kitchen floor, giggling among the ruins of their employer's silverware. At 8, she tripped on the road and struck her chin upon a tram rail. 16 lengths of iron spun curlicues about her like a cocoon. At 12, she killed a man because he'd hissed a catcall from an alley, tried to pull her into the damp shadows. A hot, unfamiliar spike of anger shot through her, and when she'd heaved a huge mouthful of spit into his face, he'd let her go, run headlong into the spinning leather belt of a steam mill. It was then that she realized she could move men as well as metal. In ways both violent and uncanny, she had made him lose his mind. Ostensibly, this girl was sanguinum, a blood worker, but far away from typical. The common sanguis of Lyon were small cogs in the great machine of Lyon's economy, and their abilities were limited to small, individual things, brief moments, tiny movements. Theirs was not an inexhaustible talent. They would see sacrifice in blood loss, and would remain prudent in what they did. However, it was one thing to light a lamp, or move a weight. The girl could move metal and men, with just a taste of her own blood. Such a thing was dangerous, to a person, to her family. Every night she would pray before the icon of her father's adopted church, "Take this burden from me, God, for I cannot bear it." The Redeemer of Lyon, forever bound upon his rock, merely gazed down at her in silent disapproval, too busy with his own stone sufferings. His marble eyes stayed blank, milky cataracts. The stone mouth said no word, and even with her voice that could command metal, she could not command it of him. Although the girl was born to parents from rural backwater fiction, she was a citizen of Clay City, the teeming northern capital of Lyon. When it soon became publicly apparent what powers she obligated, the city masters were quick to act. The girl was taken into their care, and under watch of a platoon of musket men, they mapped out the margins of her power. Over the course of a week, 3 men died, another 5 fell into madness, and she built a small steam engine by whispering a song to copper leaves. In the end, the testers made their diagnosis: sanguis orientis, direction of mind, and sanguis mandatum, instruction of matter. The orientis was useful enough. One could always find value in manipulating men. But it was the mandatum that complicated matters entirely. She could talk to metals, and chemicals related to metals, sing them into assuming a joint, a connection, make them twist into a form. Prior to her, even the best sanguis bloodworkers of the age could barely compel a steel bar into a right angle. The Lyon Investigatory Order and Nomenclatures, that secret society whose business it was to manage such powers, burned many lamps dry on the long nights they discussed the girl. The Lyon Order could see her future keenly in the entrails of their dead men. She had the means to kill them all. A girl who could pull iron foundations out of concrete with a breath could with a lone tantrum reduce the city to rubble. But then the Order also knew all too well the economic value of someone who could spin metals and command both objects
Sample complete. Ready to continue?